Hello everyone, Stars Football Cards and More here. As a lot of you know, I collect through the mail autographs. Basically what that is I mail football cards out to players, ask them to sign a card for me. Most of the time they sign them, sometimes they don't, but what the main point is that it's a cool hobby to do. One aspect of through the mail autographs is, or can be, asking players questions and the players answering them. This is what this video is about. I'm going to show you all the players who have answered questions for me and what they answered. So first up here is Ferguson Jenkins. The first question I asked him was, what was it like to win the Cy Young Award in 1971? He said it was a great thing to win the Cy Young in 71, first Cub pitcher to do so. The second question I asked him was, what was it like to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? He answered, a dream come true to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, first Canadian. Up next is Bruce Van Dyke. He had some great answers for me. First question I asked him was, what was it like to be drafted by the Eagles in 1966? He said, shock. Second question I asked was, what was it like to play for the Steelers and the Packers? He said, great. And third I asked him, what was it like to play for Chuck Noll? He said, fantastic coach. After that, Scotty Bowman. This one was a more recent one, so this one I actually wrote my questions down. Obviously, I asked, what was it like to win 14 Stanley Cups? He said, great. What was it like to win a four-peat with the Canadians? For those of you who don't know, he was the Canadians coach when they won 4 consecutive Stanley Cups during the 70s. I don't know why he said for sure on that one. I believe he meant, I believe he thought I was asking, was it cool to win a four-peat with the Canadians? That's my best explanation for that one. And how long do you think your record will stand? The record I'm referring to here is his record for most wins as a NHL head coach. He said a few years. Surprised he said a few years because none of the current coaches are even close at the moment. Next up is Tom Matte. The first question I asked, what was it like to play for Woody Hayes? He said it was tough. Second, I said, what was it like to play with Johnny Unitas in the Colts? He said, great, a dream come true. Third, I asked him, what is your best NFL memory? He wrote down here, my wristband made it when I played QB in 1965. For those of you who don't know, when Johnny Unitas went down for a little bit in 1965, Tom Matte played quarterback for a little while for him because he played quarterback in college. And then fourth, asked him what was it like to play in the NFL in the 60s. He said, great, but didn't make the big-time money like today. Up next is Paul Warfield, who has some of the best handwriting I've ever seen. Look at that. Beautiful handwriting. I asked him, what was it like to play for Woody Hayes? He said, challenging, demanding, but in the final analysis, very satisfying. Coach Hayes saw his mission as one in shaping young men for service. First country, second to the state of Ohio. Here's my favorite part. Third and last to beat Michigan. He wanted his players to put forth their very best in all parts of life. And then, what was it like to go 17-0 with Dolphins? He was on the undefeated team. Fantastic. However, that was not the objective of the 72 Dolphins. We, after being defeated in Super Bowl VI by Dallas, wanted to prove we were a championship team. Critics thought we were lucky to have gotten to Super Bowl VI. We wanted to prove them wrong. Sorry, it takes me a second to remember what specifically he put down. Our focus, commitment, and will to win gave us a historic season. I think he's put undefeated. Sorry if the video quality isn't that well. I just realized it doesn't look that well as it does here, but hopefully you're still able to read it somewhat. Next is Jim Cott. First question I asked him, what was the best game you ever played him? He said, Game 2 of the 1965 World Series. And the second question I asked him, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer? He said, maybe. I see him having a chance at being a Hall of Famer. Next up is Dick Grote. I asked him, what was it like to play baseball and basketball? In 1952, he was drafted by the Fort Wayne Pistons, now the Detroit Pistons, in the NBA, and actually played for both the Pistons and the Pittsburgh Pirates of baseball in 1952 and 53, but after 54, he went specifically baseball. He said it was great fun. The second question I asked him was, what was it like to win the 60 World Series? But as you can probably tell, he didn't answer that one. I mean, I guess the Sharpie bled through the paper there, so I guess he didn't really want to make it look weird by doing that. And next is Ralph Terry. What was it like to win the 1962 World Series and be named its MVP? Great. What was it like to play with Mickey Mantle? He was the best. And he thanked me for the nice letter, and my favorite part, $20 you forgot. I honestly didn't even know he charged money, so that was a surprise when I got that back. Of course, my card got a bit damaged too, so I'm questioning. Anyway, next is Leo Sanford. Asked, what was it like to play for Curly Lambeau? Curly Lambeau was the founder of the Packers back in 1919, my favorite team. Go Pack Go, beat the Lions Monday, please. He said, playing for Curly Lambeau was different. Back in his early coaching, they didn't play with a lot of detail, and he had a hard time on some of the games. And then, what was it like to play in the greatest game ever played? He played in the 1958 NFL Championship, which NFL 100 listed as the best game in NFL history. You knew you were playing in the best game of that time, and it was a great feeling. You gave it everything you could do to win. Love that response. Next up is Bobby Shantz. He's the oldest living baseball MVP at 93 years old. I asked, what was it like to win the AL MVP in 1952? He said, it was the greatest thing that happened to me in the 16 years I played in the major leagues. Next best thing was winning the World Series in 1958. I believe that was with the Yankees, one of my other teams. And then the other question, of course, what was it like to win the 58 World Series? So I guess he answered both in one answer. So that's double win. Next is Howard Mudd. The first question I asked was, what was it like to coach two future Hall of Famers? He was the offensive line coach for the Seahawks in the mid-90s when Walter Jones and Kevin Mawae were rookies. It's satisfying coaching a future Hall of Fame player. They have special talent. More importantly, they're driven to be the best. And then I asked, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer yourself? And he said, I don't think I'll ever get into the Hall of Fame because there are so many younger players who deserve to get in. I honestly don't like it when players bring themselves down when I ask the Hall of Fame question. A lot of them said they have no chance or a very slim chance at the Hall of Fame. But I actually like his response, because even though he thinks he'll never get in, he actually has a wholesome reason, because he thinks there are other players who deserve it a lot more than he does. I really like that answer. Makes me feel good. Next is Ray Whitney, my first hockey success ever. What was it like to play on the first Blue Jackets team? I only played 3 games that season. I got traded to CBJ at the deadline. It was an amazing arena with great fans, though. And then next was, what was the best game you played in as a Blue Jacket? Our overtime win against St. Louis at home. We scored in the last minute to tie, and then we scored in overtime. It was a great game. Sorry, I got the camera out a little bit. There we go. Next is Neil Warden. I love his handwriting too. Has like a sort of medieval feel to it in a way. The first question was, what was it like to play for Notre Dame? He said, lights out in dorms at 10 p.m. Had to have a letter from parents for permission to be out after 10 p.m. Man, imagine that. If any of you watching this video are in college, imagine that, having to have a letter from your parents for permission to be out of your dorms after 10 p.m. Jeez, ridiculous. And 2, what was football like in the 1950s? He played for the Eagles in 1954 and 57. He said changing to passing more than running the ball. Then this one was from Phil Coyne. I asked him what his favorite game was, and he said, "My favorite game was the fifth last game, or no, he did say fifth, crossed it out and put last game of the 1960 World Series. Bill Mazeroski's home run in the ninth inning, the wall, it went over." And then he mini signed it there. I always call when they sign with only their first name, I call that mini signing. A lot of players did that. Next is Gary Collins. First question I asked him was, what was it like to play for Paul Brown? He said, "You had to be on the field." Unfortunately, I do not remember what I asked the second question, but I know his response was, the Redskins was close to University of Maryland. That's where he went to college. My favorite part of this was I asked him to sign an index card for my friend who was a huge Browns fan. He was the 1964 NFL Championship MVP. And if you know, the 1964 NFL Championship is, so far, the last championship the Browns have won. He said, "Ian, most players are not going to sign and take orders for free." Thank you, Gary Collins. Very cool. Next up is Howard Twilley. First question I asked him was, what was it like to play in Super Bowl VII? He said, "A great experience. Catching a 28-yard touchdown pass in the first quarter was a highlight on my 11 years with the Dolphins." And second question was, what was it like to go 17-0? It was difficult. Winning is always better than losing. Truth. And then the third one, when I structure my letters, I always ask the third question as, will you please sign this card for me? He put, "I would be happy to sign your card. My autograph fee is $5 per item. Please return in self-addressed envelope." That's like the main reason that I kind of give up if they want money, but I actually liked how he handled it. Most players, like Ferguson Jenkins, for example, like he just straight up put, where is it? Here it is. "You're flat up to 16, 20, $40, and just like, please make cashier's check payable to Ferguson Jenkins." It's like, but Howard Twilley was actually really nice about it. He still answered my questions just like Ferguson Jenkins. He only wanted $5 per item, and as he put at the last sentence, he even included a self-addressed envelope for me to send the money back. So obviously I definitely paid him that $5. Definitely worth it. Jesse Freitas Sr., I believe he is the oldest living 49ers player. Yeah, oldest living 49ers player after Benjamin Ajanajan, I believe it was pronounced. He died back in February, I believe. First question was, what was it like to be drafted by Card Pitt in 1944? Card Pitt was when, during World War II, obviously a lot of players went to serve in the war, so some teams ended up being really low on players. So some teams, like in 1944, the Cardinals and the Steelers merged to form, like, I want to say double teams, but more mini teams. Card Pitt was one of those teams. The other one was the Steagles in 43, but anyway. He said, "I liked playing football, and now they were going to pay me to play. That was unbelievable." Second question I asked was, what was it like to play in the AAFC, the All-American Football Conference? That's where the Browns started. The AAFC started in 1946. I was discharged from the Army in July of 1946. I was able to play football after a year and was hard to believe. I think that's what it says. And then Vince Papale, I asked him if he was actually in Invincible because I thought I recognized him at one point. And yes, I do know that Vince Papale did not play himself in Invincible. He said he was actually in the movie in a training camp scene. Unfortunately, after watching the movie another 5 times, I still haven't noticed him in the training camp scene yet. Next is Dave Robinson. Love his handwriting too. He has nice handwriting. First question I asked was, what was it like to play for Vince Lombardi? Said, great. He was the best ever. Second question was, what was it like to be inducted into the Hall of Fame? He said, a dream come true. I only wish my wife were still alive. Honestly, I didn't even know his wife died. And then third question, what was it like to play in the Ice Bowl? He said, the coldest I've ever been. I love that answer. And the next is Roman Gabriel. First one was, what was it like to win NFL MVP in 1969? It said, an honor for our team. Our team. I don't remember what the second question was, but whatever I asked him, he didn't know the answer to it. And then the third question, what was football like in the 60s? Blood, guts, and no free agency. Bit of a jump there. And then he mini signed it too. And then James Laurinaitis, who I actually met and might get to meet again in February, I asked him, what was your favorite Ohio State memory? He said, my favorite part of my OSU memories is being a part of 4 straight teams to beat that team up north. He's talking about Michigan. Go Bucks. And 2, I asked, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer? Wait, no, that's not the wrong player, my bad. 2, what was it like to be drafted by the Rams in 2009? He said, it was a dream come true to play in the NFL. And 3, do you ever think you'll be a college football Hall of Famer? He said, maybe. And then Gino Cappelletti. I like Gino Cappelletti. We have the same birthday. He was born March 26th. I was born March 26th. We have the exact same birthday. Hence that. The reason he put cards are tough to sign, I gave him a set 1970 tops to sign, and from what I can tell, he tried to sign it in pen, and I'm guessing his pen died out because it's really, really faded on the card. But I can still see the indent of where he tried to sign it, and then he signed over the pen with Sharpie. So I'm guessing that's what that was from. But obviously I don't know what the original question I asked him was for that one. And then this one was, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer? He said maybe. And then I don't know what I asked him for the third question, but yeah. Man, this is already at 17 minutes. Jeez, this is a long video. And then Cliff Harris asked him, what was it like to play with Roger Staubach? He said, Roger's a champion in football and in life. And I asked him if he'll ever be a Hall of Famer. He said, I got a slim chance at the Hall of Fame. Well, luckily for you, Cliff Harris, there's going to be 10 senior finalists. I can actually see Cliff Harris getting in this year. I think he deserves to be a Hall of Famer. And then Matt Snell. I love it how he answered my questions in red pencil. Never seen anyone answer in red pencil. Only one other person's even answered in red. Number 1, what was it like to play for Woody Hayes? Hard. What was it like to win Super Bowl III with the Jets? Awesome. I'm guessing he had a kind of a bit of a brain fart there for a second. And then, once again, will you please sign this card? He said yes. Minor note for Matt Snell. On the letter, I put P-S-O-H, and he put I-O, because he played for the Buckeyes as well. And then Dan Hampton, the only other person to answer in red. He answered in red pen. What was it like to play for Ditka? Ditka was awesome. What was it like to be a member of the 85 Bears? Bears ruled. It hurts me to say that, as being a Packers fan. It hurts to say that. Carroll Dale. What was it like to play for Lombardi? Coach Lombardi was great to play for. He was a straight shooter. You knew where you stood with him. His mind was always on what's best for the team. 2. What was the NFL like in... Wrong question again. What was it like to win Super Bowl I with the Packers? Great to win NFL championship in 1965 and first Super Bowl in 1966. Being part of a first is special. Al Carmichael. The creepy thing about Al Carmichael is, as you probably, if you've noticed on my Twitter, I put a little memoriam thing for him because he died September 7th. Scary thing was, that was exactly a year after he signed a card for me. He signed my card on September 7th, 2018. Creepy. Question 1. What was it like to play for the Packers? Green Bay, Wisconsin is considered Packerland, a football town. It's all about football. If you were a Packer player, you own the town. Everything is football. Number 2, what was the NFL like in the 1950s? NFL was a step up from college football. Faster and quicker and better players. And then, once again, will you sign this index card? Index card included. Next is Ed Meter. Definitely my favorite response ever. What was the NFL like in the 1960s? We respected our opposing players and we did not kneel for the national anthem. Greatest response I've ever gotten. And what was it like to be part of the fearsome foursome? I did not know that he was not a part of the fearsome foursome. I mistaked him for Roosevelt Grier. I don't know how I mistaked him for Roosevelt Grier, but obviously he didn't know what I was talking about since he wasn't actually a part of the fearsome foursome. And then Raymond Chester. Number 1, what was it like to win Super Bowl 15 with the Raiders? He said, like a dream. 2, what was it like to play for Tom Flores? He was a great coach, very smart and very cool. I hope Tom Flores gets into the Hall of Fame too. And 3, what was it like to play in the NFL? He said, I was a complete tight end. Another thing, I don't know if you can notice, but the letter got a bit wet, and if you can kind of see right here, the back of the card kind of imprinted onto the answer sheet a little bit. You can probably see a few of the lines. And then same with the autograph down here. A little bit of the autograph ended up staining onto the letter. And then last is Boyd Dowler. Well, last for this part. There's a second part to this video. What a big surprise. Boyd Dowler. 1. What was it like to play with so many Hall of Famers? They were great teammates. However, they were not in the Hall of Fame yet. I'm very proud of them all. 2. What was it like to play in Super Bowl 1? Great. Although I got hurt in Super Bowl 1, I came back in Super Bowl 2 and caught a 61-yard touchdown. Bit of historical inaccuracy there. It was actually 62 yards, but can't really blame him for that. Alright, part 2 of this video is going to be a cut to the next part, because the next part 2 is going to be all the players who answered questions on the item that they signed. But real quick, before I skip to the second part, let me show you the Ralph Terry thing. Like I said earlier, the card got a bit damaged. You can tell here, right there, the envelope kind of got stuck to the card a bit, and yeah, kind of got damaged. But anyway, I'll cut off here, and I'll have the second part right up here, right I'm back. Now. This is part 2 of it now. So first up is Mike Holmgren. He signed the question sheet. He said, I asked him, what was it like to win Super Bowl 31? Great honor. Love that team. Mike Holmgren actually broke my curse of no one answering my questions about Super Bowl 31. I've asked 6 different players to questions about Super Bowl 31, and Holmgren is the only one who's actually answered the questions. And then Arnie Farron. Oops, sorry about that. There we go. I asked him what his thoughts on modern basketball is. He said it has changed a lot. I asked him what basketball was like when he played, and he said there have only been what was it like to win the 1949 and 50 NBA championships with the Lakers. He said there have only been 2 players that have played on champion teams in the NCAA. I don't know why I only put one A on it, but NCAA, NIT, and NBA, and I'm proud to be one of them. I am still trying to find who the second one is, and if the second player is still alive, because that would be pretty cool if I got both of them to sign. And then next is Dub Jones. Fun fact, he's Burt Jones' father. Burt Jones, 1976 NFL MVP. I asked him, first one was, what was football like in the 40s, I believe. Yeah, same. Run, hit, pass. It was a backlog to the war years, 41 to 45. And 2, I asked him what was it like to play in the AAFC. He said, I was the first draft choice in 1946. Another historical inaccuracy. He was actually selected 2nd overall with a salary of $12,000. Man, to think, that would have been a lot of money back then. And then this one I asked, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer? No. And then second part of that, I don't know why I put it all the way down at the bottom. Where did I put? I must have accidentally skipped it here. Give me a second here to find. Here it is. Here we go. Second part for Dub Jones. I asked, what was it like to play for Paul Brown? It's a great, fair, smart, made the right decisions. And then, what was it like to play with so many Hall of Famers? Great. We always knew that Autogram, could and would make the play. Also put, I played with 18 first-generation Americans and I think, 5 black Americans, all friends. And then Lenny Wilkens, I counted as a success. He didn't physically sign it, but I do count this as a success because I did not send $2 for him to sign it. I sent him $2 for him to draw the favorite play, and I'm glad he actually did that. And he even added his triple Hall of Fame inscription, asked him what was it like to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm glad he put his triple Hall of Fame inscription. I freaking love that. And then I want to say, I don't remember what the second one was, to be honest. Next is Terry Gilliam. Definitely my favorite signature I've ever gotten. Shout out to Pokey the Brave on Twitter. Definitely go follow him. He gets a lot of guys to sign playing cards, and some of them I've never even heard of. I think, like, a few days ago, he got, like, the first pilot on the space shuttle missions on STS-1. It was pretty cool. He gave me the address for Terry Gilliam. London, England. This was the first international success I ever got. He even signed the back, too. I asked him, what was it like to be a part of Monty Python? He said, free, maddening, and exhausting. I'm guessing that in England they spell exhausting without the U. And I asked him what his favorite Monty Python Flying Circus sketch was, and he said, the sketch where Cleese comes to a funeral director dragging the corpse of his mother in a bag, wanting to find the best way of disposing of her. For context, that is in Season 2, Episode 13, and the punchline is that they decide to cook her and eat her. A lot of cannibalism jokes in that episode. Next is Mercury Morris, who signed full name. And on the back, I asked, what was it like to be on the 72 Dolphins? Ian, it was a great team experience that is yet to be matched. And then I asked, do you think you'll ever be a Hall of Famer? He said, no, I don't have the stats. But my jersey number 22 is enshrined in Canton for being the first back to gain 1,000 yards with Larry Sonka. We were the first to do it. And then next is Cecil Soders. I think he's still the oldest living Ohio State alumni, obviously 98. I asked what was the NFL like in the 40s, but leather helmets, no face mask. And then same thing here, passing more uniforms. Or passing more weird and odd uniforms or something like that. And then Willie Lanier, going all the way back to October, literally almost a year ago. In 2 days, it'll be a year since I got this. Amazing. I got this October 13th, 2018. I asked, I think this one was about Super Bowl 4. Very special experience, long time ago. And then this one was, what was it like to be inducted? Tremendous honor. Love it when players put the full year for the Hall of Fame. Love it when they do that. It's really cool. And then Boyd Dowler, this was the first one. I got this the same day I got the Roger Staubach. I asked, obviously, what was it like to play for Lombardi? Coach was great to play for, good teacher, great discipline, smart, and obviously Hall of Fame question. I have an outside chance to make the Hall of Fame. And then last is Carl Erskine. I really do love his autograph, though, but the one he put on the card was even better. What was it like to play in 4 World Series in 5 years? He put, I was fortunate to pitch for a great team. An honor to be in 11 World Series games. He even put a Dodgers inscription. I have decided I'm going to be a baseball fan of both the Yankees and the Dodgers. Controversy. Well, anyway, that is the end of this video. Thank you all for watching. Go check out my Twitter if you want to see all the all of my autographs, the physical autographs, at Stars Cards, capital STARRS, capital CARDS. And I'll see you in the next video.